So back on the Saturday, the 10th of June, I had the privilege of joining Mr. Richie Gupta, Richie on tour, and we met up for my first ever helicopter ride over the Cromarty Firth. So this video will be available on marfoganweather.com right here on YouTube later on today. So do stay tuned for that video. It was a terrific experience, and Mr. Gupta and I will be meeting up hopefully in the next couple of weeks for more fun and really cool stuff. Be sure to check out Richie on Tour on YouTube and give him a subscription. So it is raining at the moment. The pressure dropped to 1,001 millibars earlier on this morning. That is the lowest pressure here at Marfogan Weather HQ, believe it or not, since April. And we've also had nearly 16, well, just over 16.5 millimeters of rain. That is also the wettest 24-hour period in quite some time, well over a month since we've had almost a night's worth of heavy rainfall here at the house. Temperature now dropped to 16 degrees with the latest shower pushing through. Be sure also to check out the Global Weather and Climate Report. Not one, but two videos yesterday looking at the Indian monsoon, the latest on that, as well as the Indian Ocean Dipole, the El Nino, and how that actually comes about within the Pacific. It's all to do with the trade winds and the reduction of trade winds over the eastern equatorial Pacific. So a lot of content was produced yesterday here on the channel. Please check that out if you're interested, as well as looking at global weather and, like I say, plenty of things for you to check out. Now, we have essentially reversed the pattern over the North Atlantic and over the European continent in recent times, courtesy of the Mann-Julian oscillation, given that the atmosphere that little bit of a kick. We are now starting to see the NAO going from negative to positive, as well as the Arctic oscillation also. We are now going to start to see the trough deepening over the North Atlantic and over Greenland. So rather than having that high focus to the north of the UK, initially to the northwest, then it shifted over to Scandinavia. We've seen, instead of winds coming in from a kind of east-northeast direction, we're then seeing them coming in from a more southerly direction, and therefore we have jacked up the temperature. The levels of humidity have kind of come up and down in recent times. And now we are seeing that area of high pressure retreat back to a more traditional southerly position. So temperatures are going to warm up significantly over Spain and Portugal, France, and Central Europe, where it has been very disappointing up until now, of course. And we are going to start to see things becoming a lot more unsettled, especially more towards the areas that have been dominated by high pressure. So over the northeast Atlantic, the northern half of the British Isles, to the west also, we're going to see spells of rain, shower activity, longer spells of rain. It is quite a different pattern, actually, to what we've had for the best part of a month and a half now, actually. And like I say, that can all be attributed to activity not only in the Mann-Julian region, through the tropical Pacific, but we're also seeing some western Pacific typhoon activity also that is causing a downstream ripple effect to the atmosphere. But be sure to check out the Global Weather and Climate Reports from yesterday. Like I say, there's two videos available for you to check out, and you can get a little bit of hopefully a better understanding as to some of these drivers and how these drivers evolve and change with time. There are so many interesting things going on in the world of weather at the moment. There is a lot of hype with regards to the El Nino, warming of the planet. We've got, of course, record warm temperatures in the Atlantic, and quite a considerable amount of chat with regards to that at the moment here. But you notice here, this is off the ECMWF. This is weathercharts.com, of course. The 500 millibar geopotential height anomalies now, of course. Like I've said, high pressure is now back towards the more traditional region of Europe and indeed more southerly latitudes. You can see here that trough now starting to become a little bit deeper and more mature over the North Atlantic as the upper air pattern changes. Instead of having high pressure over the Arctic, we're now seeing lower heights Therefore, the high pressure becomes stronger down in the subtropics, and therefore we do have, while systems will kind of glance and blow to the northwest of the UK, bringing spells of shower activity, we also have the potential for some quite significant warm air coming up from Africa through Spain, Portugal, France, and into the southern half of the UK. Quite a distinct northwest to southeast contrast. We may quite easily hit 30 Celsius somewhere in the southeast by the time we reach the second half of this week. Temperatures low 20s across the northwest, with the systems always that bit closer by to the northwest here. So you can look at the overview chart here, and the pressure is relatively low compared to what we've had so far. There's an area of low pressure. Remember I said to you back on Friday that the GFS, as opposed to the ECMWF, actually developed an area of low pressure while the current low stayed to the west of the UK. We've seen an area of quite a large convection pushing out of France across the channel and into the UK. The model actually did develop a kind of flabby surface low, and that was actually the cause of the fairly heavy persistent rain through last night and into the early hours of this morning. That system moves to the north here, and then you've got another area of large, a large canopy of precipitation, some of it which may be embedded thunderstorms within us as well, but a fairly steady and persistent rain moving up through the Midlands, southwest, Wales, up into England as we progress through the day tomorrow. So this is Tuesday. It looks as if it lifts off the coast, Northumberland, for example, into the North Sea. We've got plenty of shower activity across the Republic of Ireland, Northern Ireland, and indeed Scotland. We've also got a legacy of showers moving into Wales on the backside of that feature as well. And then it's, more shower activity blows up, especially with the strong sun at this time of the year. We're approaching the longest day of the year, of course, on Wednesday. So, of course, we've got strong incoming solar radiation at this time of the year. Any kind of low pressure nearby, it triggers those showers, thunderstorms, and whatnot. We've seen that over recent days. You notice here that we've got this area of low pressure relatively deep. We've got a little bit of a jet coming in here. What that's doing is this is deepening out over the Atlantic, and essentially what it's going to do is it's going to pump the high further east downstream, and then going to lift a lot of warm, humid air northwards as that system makes an approach at the UK. So as you can see here towards Thursday, that area of low pressure sees a new low developing here in the trough. There's an upper level trough here, but there is a surface low that develops to the east of the main low. We've still got some shower activity over England and Wales, as you can see here. But it's as we press through into Friday that that area of low pressure, to the northwest of that developing low, that becomes the main surface low. And then as we press towards the period on Friday, we've got more spells of rain, longer spells of rain, shower activity, thunderstorms embedded, moving in kind of from a southwesterly direction. All the while, we've got warm, humid air coming up through the eastern side and southeastern side of England here. Like I say, with sunshine, we may see 30 quite easily with this type of setup. And then as we press towards the weekend here, you notice here that there's more action starting to develop out over the Atlantic here. And this may be a little bit of a sign of a change to more unsettled across a broader area of the UK as we press towards the final week of the month here. You can see here this area of rain approaching the UK, Ireland, obviously Ireland first. And you can see here that moving across the top of the British Isles, primarily across Ireland, Northern Ireland, the north of Wales, Northern England, and indeed Scotland here, staying warmest the further south you go. But notice here that we are starting to see a little bit of a flatter look according to this model, and the GFS is kind of on board with this idea as well, and therefore it kind of suppresses some of that heat and humidity further south. And this is quite a different overall look, folks, to what we've seen in the last month, probably even nearly 2 months actually. There's a 999 millibar area of low pressure crossing the top of the UK here. You notice here that we do have a high pressure trying to lift north, and we've got, of course, more trophiness over the UK overall, as well as Ireland here, west and northwesterly flow. That would be a fresher feel, of course, coming in off the Atlantic from the west here. So we need to watch this space. We may start to see a little bit more of a low pressure dominated pattern as we progress through next week, and then of course that will take us towards the end of the month here. So some interesting changes taking place. Have we got signs that we're starting to lose the high pressure dominance that we've seen through May, or the second half of May, and through at least the first half of June? That remains, of course, to be seen. So we'll watch this space as we go forward, of course. And yeah, I think I've covered enough for now. Do check out my YouTube and Twitter if you haven't already done so. Give that a sub and a follow if you're interested in daily weather updates, of course. Check out Richie on Tour, of course, and I will have that video posted right here on YouTube later on today. So stay tuned for that. Thanks for watching. Please like, share, and subscribe. See you again tomorrow with more.